In this slide cast, we're going to look at project management processes. In other words, how do we do project management? Hopefully this diagram is familiar to you from previous slide casts. It is the generic diagram showing the management functions, how management works. So we start with planning. We plan what we're going to do, we establish objectives, determine how we're going to do it, get our resources. Then we obtain those resources, we coordinate activities, then we do the actual work, we lead it, we implement it, we make sure that the staff are motivated, that they know what they're doing, and then we control it, we check that what is required to be produced is being produced. Now this is a generic model. That means it covers all of management. Now remember that project management is a subset of management. It's a specialized type of management. So we're going to modify this to make it more customized to project management. And the way we do that is twofold. First of all, we combine organizing and leading. In a project, these two functions occur together normally, and we'll call that executing. So organizing it, getting everyone organized, set up to do it, finding the resources, and then briefing them and getting them to do it is something that happens all through the project, and we'll call that executing. The other thing about a project is it has a definite beginning and a definite end, unlike a lot of management projects. Management processes. So we need to incorporate that as well. So what we have here is a new model, a modification of the one we looked at before, but it's new. We have our planning processes as before, which leads on to our executing, which remember that is our organizing and our leading, and they go in a circle as they do normally. So you plan what you're going to do, you do it. If it's not quite working right, you plan it again, or when you complete one part, you plan the next part. You're controlling it, you're keeping an eye on each one of these processes, making sure that you're planning what you're supposed to do properly and that you're doing it properly. So that's where the controlling sort of encapsulates it all. In addition, we've added initiating process, which is this one here, where we're getting the project started, so there's a definite start, and we're putting a finishing process in, a definite finish. So this is the project management process. So let's look at each one of these different processes in full. So initiating is something that's different from many other different types of management. Because we have a definite start to a project, there's got to be a point where we say, yes, this project has started. So we establish the requirements, we figure out what we need to do, what we need to build, how much it's going to cost, what our budget is, and time, how much time we have to do it. And then we obtain approval from the client to do it. In other words, the client sends a letter or some sort of document that says, yes, I agree that you need to do this work, I'm asking you to do it, I will pay you for it. So once you've obtained that approval, then you go into the planning, figuring out how you're going to be doing it. But you don't start doing the work until the client has said that he wants you to do it. So once you have approval to get going, you do the planning process. And this little poem here about applies to a lot of things, and applies to project management. So when you're looking at something and you're brainstorming, a good way to start it is to say, ask these questions: what, where, when, how, why, and who. So for example, with a project, if you were looking at a specific part, let's say we're doing a project to build a road, you're asking, what do we need to deliver in this phase or project? Well, obviously in the whole project you need to deliver the road, but you need to break it into smaller parts. So you say, what do we need to deliver? We need to do the earthworks. So what do we need to deliver? When does it need to be delivered? When do we need to complete the earthworks so that the rest of the road building can be completed on time? How is it going to be delivered? What sort of machinery are we going to use? What sort of people are going to be required? What sort of operator skills? What sort of plant? And who is going to do the work? Who's going to take responsibility for it? As a project manager, you're not taking direct you're not doing it directly. So you would, if you were a project manager for a construction job, you would brief the foreman, the earthworks foreman, this is what I want you to do, this is the machinery you've got, this is the time, this is the budget, and he would take responsibility for it. So you break off what's called a work package and you give that to the foreman, and he is the one that's taking responsibility for it, although you have to, as the project manager, have an overview and make sure he's doing it properly. So you're asking these questions mainly, and you're compiling it all into a coherent plan. This is the way we're going to do the job, this is who's going to do it, this is when it's going to be done by, this is what needs to be delivered. Then we've got the execution. So this is where you're coordinating and directing the activities required to produce it. So you're managing resources, you're making sure that the resources are on site to do the job, you're making sure that they're the right type of resource, that they're in the proper condition. You're identifying any changes that happen, if the client changes their mind about something. You're looking at how the work is proceeding. Are you going to be completing it on time? You might have allowed for, say, a few days to dig a hole. If it's taking a few weeks, then you've got to say, what's happened? Why is this work activity taken longer than what I thought it was going to be? Is it being constructed properly? Is it being costing as much as we thought it would? You're working with the team, making sure that everyone knows what they're doing, that they are doing their jobs. You're making sure that the people that need to know things know it. So health and safety, for example, you're briefing the workers about health and safety hazards. And procurement, you're making sure that you're getting the materials and subcontractors that you need. So you're organising material deliveries to site, for example. While the planning and controlling, planning and execution are happening, you're monitoring and measuring the performance. So when you're doing the planning, you're looking at that plan and saying, is this going to deliver what we're required to deliver? Or have we designed something that's totally wrong? Have we planned to do it totally different from what is required? When the construction's happening, you're asking yourself, are we delivering what is supposed to be delivered? What has changed, if anything has changed from the project? If there's any changes, the client might come and ask for changes, or it might be that you've had to do changes. For example, if you're doing some earthworks, you may expect to be digging up clay, but when you start doing the excavation you find that it's rock. That's a change, and you've got to manage it. You need different types of machinery to remove the rock. It's going to take you longer, it's going to cost more, and that's a variance, and you need to be managing that. You either tell the client, make sure that he pays for it, or it may be that the contractor has to pay for it. You look at ahead and ask, are there any potential problems? If there are, deal with them then. Try to make them not happen. So that's all part of risk management. And then you're reporting to your boss or to your client how the project is going. And obviously you've got risk monitoring and control as you go. Once the project is complete, you need to finish it off. It's not a matter of, okay, we just finished this road and you walk away. Okay, you need to have a handover where you're handing the project over to the client, a formal handover, where the client says, yes, that's what I want, thank you very much, gives you a final payment, and the project is complete. You also need to take the information that from the project and store it. So you have files, a lot of paperwork and stuff. That is important stuff, because in the future you might be doing similar jobs and you might want to refer back and see, oh, what did we do? How much did it cost? And you also look at what worked and what didn't work. What are the things that we did really well and what didn't do? What didn't happen very well? So you're asking yourself, what went well? We want to do that again. What didn't go so well? We don't want to do that again. How can we make it work better next time? So you're learning lessons as you go, and you're making sure that that's all documented. So that concludes this slide cast.